There. Good afternoon, at least where I'm at. Good afternoon, depending on when you're listening to this. Welcome to the Igniting Financial Freedom podcast. On today's podcast, number 27, I'm going to talk about what are the best ways to reduce your spending. I'm going to give you 6 different ideas that you can start reducing your spending today. And then I'm going to offer you a resource that will help you along the way. Stick around because we're going to cover the ways to help you ignite financial freedom. Welcome to episode 27 of the Igniting Financial Freedom podcast. I am your dashing host, Clark Bradley. Today, I'm going to address the question, what are the best ways to reduce your spending? So, periodically, I'd say every couple weeks or so, I traditionally will sit down and go back through our spending. I use a budgeting software called YNAB. YNAB stands for You Need a Budget. And I have things sorted in categories within that software. So I'll have categories like eating out or spending money on kids' stuff, just whatever, right? My daughter likes crafts, so she goes to Michael's or different things. Anyways, there's a constant review of our spending and our budget and where our money's going. And I'm constantly thinking of ways to reduce our spending. And naturally, certain subscriptions will come up. Or there might be different things that we've had to pay for or buy that, just are a part of maintaining the house and maintaining the cars and the 3 kids in school and what have you. But we're constantly looking at our budget and constantly looking at our expenses to see ways that we can continue to reduce that. So it's really just a never-ending battle, if you will. And we're continuously in discussion. My wife and I, both of us are in discussion as to where our money's going, how we're spending it, and how we can reduce it. And then conversely, we're looking at ways that we can increase our spending and where we're going to put that long term and how we're going to invest and build our wealth as well. So it's a two-way thing, right? The more we decrease our expenses, of course, the more we can increase our savings and our investing. So I started thinking, I'm like, well, okay, if I'm doing that every couple of weeks or at least once a month, I'm sure there are people out there who are struggling, who are thinking, I would really like to figure out some other ways that I might be able to reduce my expenses and increase my savings and maybe put some money towards debt. So these 6 things are just some of the things that I thought of. This is by no means an exhaustive list. There are other ways to reduce your expenses outside of this list, but these are some that I thought you could implement quickly and easily so that you can start moving towards those financial goals. So first one would be just that. It's just to review your spending. Like I said, I go to YNAB. I plugged in a lot of our broad, bigger categories. It's a very intuitive system. It's inexpensive. I think it's $11 or $12 a month to use. And I'm not endorsed or paid financially by them to endorse their product. I just like it. It's easy to use. Personal Capital is another one that you could use to track your spending and monitor the big categories, because it's important to know, okay, last month we spent $500 eating out for a family of 5. If we're going out once a week, twice a week, that's a good amount of money. But maybe for others, that's not so much. If you live in a big city, if you live in New York or you live in California, $500 a month for a family of 5 is probably nothing. But where could that $500 otherwise be going, right? That could easily be sent to one of your debts to pay off a good chunk of that. Or even if it's not all 500 disappearing and going towards debt, maybe it's $50 a week and you're still getting a $200 monthly going out to eat budget, but the other $300 is going towards debt or going towards building your savings. So it's, again, reviewing that budget every month, looking at that spending and saying, okay, last month we spent this much on going out to eat. Last month we spent this much on, for us, entertainment, like renting videos or going out to the movies or buying things on Amazon or going out to different stores for the kids, right? We don't do that too much, but like I said, crafts for my daughter, or maybe going to Five Below or to Target for other, just other stuff, right? We don't do that a ton, but it's something that we monitor and something that we keep track of so that we're aware of the trends, so to speak. And there are months where our eating out budget is higher than the month prior, and then we adjust and tighten That was number one. It was just a simple review of your spending. And not just looking at your bank statement and going through all of your transactions, but actually sorting them and seeing month after month, where are our trends going and where is our kind of our direction with these big categories. Your mortgage or your rent payment, probably not changing very much. Your healthcare costs, your gas for your car, your utilities, probably not changing all that much. Your groceries probably could be adjusted, right? Your cable TV cost probably could be adjusted. Do you need the fast internet in your house? Do you need the nicest data plan for your cell phone? Are you going out to eat too much? Are you buying too much at stores? Are you buying too much on Amazon or online? Maybe, maybe not. Okay. Next, number two, other way to reduce your spending is to remove certain apps, particular apps that are kind of problematic for you. Remove them from your phone altogether. For me, it was just social media in general. I don't use social media on my cell phone because there's ads that are constantly bombarding you, and Amazon in addition to that. So I restrict, for Amazon, it's things that are just on we use the subscribe and save. So it's things that are going to be coming through every 3 months or 4 months or 6 months based on how often we use them. So it's the paper towel and the water filter for my fridge, and it's trash bags and laundry detergent and other stuff that we know we're just going to use, but we're not overspending in those categories because it's still a competitive cost, compared to other products. And it's not things that we would have otherwise been buying them anyway, whether it's on Amazon or through Kroger or whatever it might have been. But I'm also not going on there. And if I am going on to Amazon to buy something, it's also another need, right? It's for the house. It's something that's a requirement or a necessity. And if it isn't, that is number three. And I'll get to that. So I'll jump back to that in a second. The other type of things you could remove, again, social media apps for me, just one, because I was wasting too much time on there, and two, because there's so many ads baked into those posts as you're scrolling, you're not even necessarily realizing how many of the ads you're seeing, and then you're just continuing to get more and more numb and conditioned to ad after ad within there. Same thing with YouTube. Okay. Or maybe you have a shopping app. We've used the Kroger app in the past, or maybe it's Walmart or Target. They position certain products within there as well to increase and to further promote their stuff. So again, curbing that spending by maybe just being old fashioned and going into the store and buying things in the store. Depends on how you work, right? Number three, and this is what I was mentioning with Amazon, is to wait 72 hours before you buy something. Unless it's paper towel and you actually need paper towel because you're out, like literally right now, we're out of paper towel, so we have to go buy more. But if it's something that is probably a want, like books for me are a big thing. I like buying a lot of books and I tend to buy books. So I will find a book that I like and put it in my list called books, or I think it might be wish list. And then it sits there for sometimes days or weeks, months even. And then I go back to it. I was like, oh yeah, I wanted that book so bad when I put it in this list. And I was like, 3 days from now, I'm buying this thing. And then what do you know? 72 hours goes by and I forget about it. And then a week goes by and 2 weeks goes by. And then I add another book to the list. And I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that book on neurolinguistic programming that you had to have. Yeah, still didn't buy that one, but it's interesting. So your perspective will change. What you think is a need, what you think is like on fire, you have to have it today. You don't really need it. It's not that urgent. So get over yourself. Okay, number 4 is to use cash. I keep some cash in my wallet, some spending money in my wallet. At times in the past, I've also kept my debit card at home, which is pretty extreme. I don't do that now, but I have in the past. It's painful, but it works. It absolutely works. So I would just keep $50 in cash on me, and I'd make that last a month. Or at times we've done that where now it's like $50 every couple weeks. Depends on how your budget is and what you can afford to spend on spending money. Everybody's a little bit different. Right now I use my debit card for like the necessity type things. Like if I'm out and we're going to buy groceries or we're going to buy gas for the car or whatever. But if it's something like spending that I just want to flat out buy because I want to buy it, like going out to lunch or a cup of coffee, I'm using that cash. And I read a study somewhere, I read statistics that when you pay with cash, it actually registers as a pain response, small, but a pain response in your brain. So you pay with cash because you're exchanging a physical piece of paper for a cup of coffee. You give them $5, they give you back $2 or whatever. It's an actual pain response, as opposed to paying for it with Apple Pay, which is just waving your phone in front of the terminal. There's like no response at all because there's nothing, and it's a little bit more slighter, closer to what a cash transaction would feel like if you actually use a credit card. Okay, so the degrees of pain, if you will, is highest would be paying with cash. Then a little bit less than that would be paying with a debit card. Then quite a bit less than that would be paying with a credit card, or like paying with your Apple Pay, where you just click a button with your phone. Because there's no exchange. You're not losing anything. You just wave your phone in front of the thing, and voila, you have your coffee, and off you go. So you don't actually, it doesn't really register the same that you've just exchanged something and lost something, right? Had a good experience. My son was, we were out on vacation, and my son was wanting to buy these rocks, these amethyst rocks. We went to a rock shop, and he's like so into these rocks right now because of, Minecraft, and he's playing Minecraft, and he loves this amethyst. And he was like, Dad, we're going to find a redstone rock. And I'm like, I don't think there's such a thing as redstone, bud. And sure, I had to Google it because I wasn't sure. And redstone is actually not a real rock. It's made up for Minecraft. Anyways, we go to this rock shop. We find this rock shop on the west side of Michigan in South Haven, for those of you from this area. And he wants to buy like $60 worth of rocks. And he's been saving up. This is like all his spending money for like the year from just doing chores and allowance and all that stuff. And we had to have a 15-minute conversation. He's 6 years old. We had to have like a 15-minute conversation on why he didn't need $60 worth of rocks. And we had to explain to him in 6-year-old terms what opportunity cost was. And for those of you who aren't familiar with it, it's basically, if I spend $60 right now at the rock store, I won't be able to then go across the street to the ice cream store and buy a $5 ice cream from Kilwins, which is amazing, but also very expensive. I won't be able to buy a $5 ice cream because I will have spent all my money on rocks. So we ended up kind of talking him down to spending only like $35, which is a ton of money on rocks. But still, he learned a lesson that we need to save some of our money for tomorrow, and we also need to save some of our money for other things. And that's where, again, that maybe elementary level, if you will, explanation and learning opportunity for what opportunity cost means. Anyways, the whole point was he's had this cash in his hand and like really looked at it and was feeling it. And there's that pain response with the cash that's associated with exchange this for that. And the back and forth that goes with it. Okay. All right. So that was number 4. Number 5 is to continually and repeatedly look at the savings account that you're trying to build up for your emergency fund, or the debt that you're trying to pay off. When we were in debt payoff mode, getting some of our bad debt cleaned up, I was looking at those balances and updating them very regularly. Every time we made a payment, I updated our spreadsheet and I kept track of it. And the new number was like, okay, here's our total debt. Look, boom, here's our new number. And it's this much lower. And that was super motivating. Or looking at our emergency fund now and seeing, oh man, we've got this much money sitting in cash. And it's like, wow, what a relief. It was such a peace of mind. It's such a amazing feeling to know that we've got this money sitting there in case the furnace goes out, in case the minivan breaks or whatever. We've got that money set there ready to go. Okay. So use those goals, use that progress as motivation to continue your progress. Okay. And then that was number 5. And then number 6 is to remember your why. So it might be on the miniature level, building that savings account, paying off that debt. But on the broader scale, it might be being completely debt free and being able to have one of you, married couple, one of you stay home. It might be buying a house and starting a family. It might be getting married. It might be moving to a new city. It might be moving to a new city so that you can be closer to family. I don't know what the reason, but there's a broader picture. There's a broader motivation behind doing all of this stuff. So know that why and remind yourself of that why. Whether it's a vision board, I've talked about those before. You're putting up pictures of the city you want to live in, or the house you want to buy, or the job you want to have, or the the kids you want to have, or the marriage you want to plan and spend on, pay for, the debt you want to pay off, the vacation you want to go on, all of those things. Paint that picture. Put it on your mirror. We did this for a long time. Put it on your mirror in your bathroom. Every morning I'm brushing my teeth. Seeing those pictures, reminding myself what I was working towards. There's also there's the debt payoff, the progress. There's the thermometer where you color it in all the way to the top and you've got the debt and the payoff and the thermometer blows up type thing. Or little, I just saw one the other day where it was a paper of like 20 houses, probably more than that because this person had a lot of debt. 40 little icons, like little pictures of a house, and they would color in the house, and every house represented $1,000. So boom, $1,000 of debt paid off. And there was like 40 of these houses all colored in, and at the top they wrote their total debt and put an X through it. Something simple, but every time you pay off 1,000, boom, 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 and then 40 times, you got to pay it off. Very motivating. Visual reminders, right? Listening to podcasts or lives like this, if you're watching this on Facebook or YouTube. Podcasts, obviously not just mine, but there's plenty of them out there. Maybe joining some groups on a Facebook or on other social media platforms that can be a source of motivation. And maybe using those platforms as a source of motivation instead of a source of distraction. Maybe not checking in on your phone as much, but maybe if you have the laptop or the desktop, you're checking into those groups that way. I tend to find that if I'm using my social media, I tend to use it for business, obviously, as I'm here with you right now. But if I'm using my social media for on my laptop, I'm more focused, and it just seems that it's not as like mindless. And I don't find myself scrolling as much as I would if I'm just sitting there on my phone. That's my experience anyway. Okay. So I think that's let's recap those real fast. So again, reviewing your spending weekly, bi-weekly, once a month. Removing apps that are triggers on your phone, waiting 72 hours or more to buy something, using cash, looking at your savings or your debt payoff as sources of motivation, and then remembering your why and visual reminders. So I think over the last probably few years, I've really started to love getting rid of stuff. And whether it's selling stuff or giving it away to Salvation Army or just throwing it out, there's a weird sense of satisfaction of just like that cleanse and that relief that comes with that. And that I've also kind of translated to like scouring through our expenses and our budget and like, oh, this is some subscription that we don't use, that we don't need anymore. And boom, I'm going to get rid of that. And it might only be $10, but it's like so satisfying to get that $10 and like get it off our budget and get rid of it. I don't know why, but it's a lot of fun. So maybe there's some type of satisfaction other than the actual like decreasing of the expense or getting closer to your financial goals. For me, that one is just kind of like a satisfaction of like simplifying and getting rid of stuff. Maybe the minimalist is coming out in me that I never knew was there. I don't know, because that's not really ever been my thing, but who knows? I guess I'm talking out loud with you here. Maybe that is kind of turning into my thing. So I will challenge you. I almost look at it as kind of like digging for gold within our expenses. Like, oh, are there things in here that I can get rid of? Right. So I will challenge you to dig for gold. Go through your online banking, print off 2 months of statements and go back through. Are there 3 or 4 or 5 things that you can delete, that you can get rid of? So I challenge you to do that. Save, who knows, maybe it's $10 for each of the 3 things that you find and you're saving $30 a month. Then don't just stop there. Go to your savings account or go to your checking account and set up a monthly reoccurring savings pull on the first of every single month, $30. Boom. So now instead of paying the app store for apps that you no longer use, you're taking that money and you're putting it into your own pocket or into your own savings account. Okay. So if you need help with any of this, if you want to talk through any of this with regards to reducing expenses and planning for the long term and just financial coaching in general, I would happily hold and talk with you over a 30-minute strategy session. ignitingfinancialfreedom.com/coaching. Check it out. Check the icon. There it is. Boom. ignitingfinancialfreedom.com/coaching. claim your complimentary 30-minute strategy session. If you're listening on the podcast, you're probably like, what is this dude talking about? There's a slick little icon in this Restream. Props to Restream for allowing me to cast this show live on Facebook and YouTube simultaneously. I can click this button and boom, ignitingfinancialfreedom.com/coaching shows up on my screen. It's super slick. So go there to sign up and set up your free complimentary 30-minute strategy session, and I will gladly talk you through any questions related to reducing expenses or anything personal finance related. Be happy to walk through any of it. I love doing this stuff. So talk with you about any and all of it. Okay. That is all I have for you today. For our quick win, I would say check out and try out YNAB. You Need a Budget, YNAB. They do offer a 34-day free trial. So you can get your feet wet, plug in some of your, at the very least, just start with plugging in your income that comes in and maybe your top 3 categories for spending and track them that way so that you have a monitor of maybe you're eating out and your online purchases and the stuff you spend on your kids or clothing or, I don't know, cell phone or internet or your TV. And then you monitor it that way. And then you try to streamline and reduce that stuff as you see it and you see patterns and trends. After a few months back to back, you can see the trends within YNAB. It'll show you the graph of how much you spent in your going out to eat or your whatever, those categories I mentioned. So check that out. I think that'd be a good use of whatever it is, $11-12 a month. All right. That's all I got for you today. Stay tuned. I will have additional episodes where I take on your biggest questions related to money. That is all from me. I will see you next time, and cheers.